Hello everyone out there on the interwebs. My name is Jared and this is my channel Mazda B3K. This video is going to start out a series or a playlist on how to convert your Mazda B3000 essentially into a Ford Ranger. I wanted the cheaper parts prices for stuff in the front, and I've got some broken stuff up front I wanted to swap out, so I'm going to go ahead and take my B3000 and make it look like a Ranger. But the first thing we have to do before we go down that rabbit hole is we're going to have to swap out the fenders. So this video will focus on fender removal and replacement, and the process is identical for a B3000 or a Ford Ranger, just the fender panels look slightly different. So without further ado, let's get started. Not really a car guy, and this is your first time doing this kind of thing. The fender is what you see here. So you've got the badging right there, B3000 V6, and you've got this metal part that goes behind the wheel, above the wheel, in front of the wheel, and meets up at the bumper and the headlights here in the front. And for this project, I need to remove this because the fender panel is a different shape when it comes to the headlight panel, which is that black plastic piece that the headlights sit in. And this is broken on my B3000. You can't see it, but it's broken behind the lights. So anyway, this is kind of a continuation of what started out as just going to be a bumper swap. This is a Ranger bumper, but I found out that that it doesn't really work that way. The bumpers themselves will swap, but then everything looks really nasty because the rest of the parts don't line up. So we start here with the fender. Now the fender is going to have bolts that are behind the door. You can see there is one. I think it's just one. Let's see, one. Yeah, just one. But you got a bolt back there. There are numerous bolts that run along the fender well that have to come loose. You don't have to take the full inner fender down, but you got to give yourself enough wiggle room that you can get the fender out. So that's got to go out. There are some bolts that come in right here. You got to come out. Sorry. Still have a cold. Still won't let go. There are also one or two hidden ones that are kind of inside of the fender that tighten up into this headlight panel, and I'll show those when we get there. But let's go ahead and get started. If I remember correctly, this is I think it's an 8mm. So let me check that out and I'll get back with you. So this is an 8mm. Went ahead and took it out, and since there's a lot of these, I'm going to break out my little cobalt impact drill here. It's pretty handy. You have one of the bits that lets you use sockets. You got something like that, go for it. If not, you can get everything out of here with just standard socket and a screwdriver. I think there's a part you need a screwdriver, but just throwing that out there. Let's continue. These much smaller bolts here, these are 5.5mm, and there's going to be a couple of them as you work your way around the wheel well. So we got one there. We got another one down here, if I can actually get that in for you. Let's see here. Sorry, I can't see very well. Alright, well, where is it? I will find this bolt for you guys. There it is. There we go. Much better. Okay. One there. There's a push pin right there, so you'll need a trim tool. Pop that out. Once you remove this, taking that push pin out, besides finding a copious amount of dirt most likely, There is a 5/16 bolt right there. I'm pretty sure it's only an SAE. There we go. Much better. And get on that, pull it out, and we'll keep moving forward towards the headlights. As I mentioned earlier, we got some more 5.5. There's one there. There is one here. And once we do that, we'll be all the way forward. We'll deal with the stuff up there. Once we get up front, there are some more. There we go. We have 2 more push pins that got to come out. I know it's a little difficult to see. There we go. That's better. So 2 push pins. The rest we're not going to worry about until we start working on headlights and things like that, which is not the scope of this video. The scope is the fender. So we're going to get those out, and then we're going to go under the bumper, and there's more stuff down there we got to grab. Okay, we're going to take it top side here, and you'll see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts that need to come off the top side. Once you loosen these, the fenders should start flapping around a bit, because all that's going to be left is some stuff up here. Okay, so our location here is we're basically under the passenger headlight. This is where the end of the fender liner comes in. There are 3 8mm here. I think you only need to remove 1, but I'm going to remove all 3 so I can move the fender liner around and get some more visibility. At this point, like I said, I'll show you. The fender's loose, as you can see. And if you look, or you probably can't see. Yeah, you probably can't see. But way down in at the very end, there's going to be there's 2 bolts, and they are hidden behind this corner light that got to come out in order for this fender to get free. So we're going to tackle those, but first we're going to get the ones on the underside, 3 8mm. Now that we can actually get this fender skirt out of the way, see that metal bracket that extends over? So the one at the end there, that's the only one you actually needed to remove. These other 2, which have much bigger washers on them, are purely for holding the fender skirt. So if you don't want to remove them, you don't have to. I did it for extra visibility. So let's go ahead and move up to the front. Oh, going up. Ding, ding. Okay. As you can see, I don't have my usual workshop at the moment because it's in the process of getting a concrete slab. And then I won't have to roll in the dirt anymore. It's pretty nice. So is the concrete company's excavator. I could do a lot with that. Anyway, we are going to need a Phillips head screwdriver to get this corner light out. Because behind the corner light, there's going to be 2 bolts here and here that we got to get out. And then I think, knock on wood, we should be able to just pull this fender back towards the rear of the truck, and it'll come out. As I said, come on, I need some light. Light! There is a screw down there. It's not a bolt. Turns out it's a screw. And a little tricky to see. There we go. Better. Yep, and there's a screw right there. So, both Phillips head, we get those out. Oh, and there's the bolt I was thinking of. It's right there. Get that bolt out. So we get these 3 out. And this is like just a guiding peg. We should be able just to pull the fender off. Okay, everything's out, as you can see, or maybe not see. There we go, better. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come back here. Just going to kind of wiggle. And if we hear stuff catching, I'm going to take a look-see. And sure enough, I don't know if the camera is picking it up. It's not as sensitive as my eye. But there is one more screw at the very bottom that is still holding the fender in. It's under where the corner light goes. I'll show you from the front. So if we're looking from the front, it's going to be about right there is where it is. So I'm going to see if I can get around this header panel and track that guy down and remove him. For ease of access, I just went ahead and removed the front grille, which I was incorrectly calling the header panel. Header panel is this guy, which, interestingly, it's made of, oh, so it's got a metal frame and then plasticky bits inside of it. Anyway, so that entailed 1, 2, 3, 4 screws here, 1 screw to remove the corner light, 1, 2 screws right there, and then also 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, you guys can't see a thing, but there are 5 Phillips head screws that run under here that look like those. And you can't forget, there are these push pins. There is one of them. Wow, this camera is being amazing today. Come on, focus. Anyway, there is a push pin on the other side. You got to pop that loose. Panel comes out, and what it reveals is what I saw from the other side. Once you get the spider webs out of the way, is there's one more bolt that's holding the fender in. It's going to be an 8mm. If you want to see what it looks like before you start messing with it, this is what we see on the other side. 2 bolts. So pop that out, and then our fender should come out. I promise, really. And there you have it. The fender is now out. Now optionally, you could have left the bracket on at the other side and just taken it off here on the fender side. I chose to just pull that whole assembly out. I'll probably have to transfer it. This is what we look like without a fender. Not very elegant, but there you have it. You can see where paint wasn't done or just faded away. You know, they weren't doing a fabulous job in '94 throwing these things together. So I will go get the replacement. Spoiler alert, it's not the same color. It's going to make this truck look like a Frankenstein, but it's already a Frankenstein, so not a big deal. And I shall return. The old, this is the new. This came from a '94 Ranger. This is off of a '94 B3000. You'll notice that they look pretty similar, but not quite. When you check the back curve here, it's about the same as the back curve there. And that's because it's got to line up with the door. But if you look at the actual fender arch, it's more rounded over the wheel well. It's more broad over the '94, or the B3000, sorry. And then when you look where the fender, or sorry, the grille and the headlight panel and all that stuff's going to go, it looks like that. It just kind of looks like an upside down L. And then when we look at the Ranger, it's a little bit more like a C. There's some curve there at the bottom. Now, as far as mounting points go, they are identical. That you do not have to worry about. You can see this is still a bit dirty. This particular panel I had to wrestle out of a truck that was buried up to its axles, so that was a little bit fun. Anyway, they will bolt up, but the problem is you've got to, it starts kind of a cascade effect. If you change out the fender, then this has to be changed, because this is not going to line up with that. So this is reinstallation of a fender. I didn't really cover it earlier in my video because it is a little bit different when you do a Ranger fender installation versus a B Series. Some subtle differences, but overall, same deal. One of the subtle differences is it's very hard to see. Let me see if I can get that lined up for you. But there's a nut that needs to go right there, and I've got it on hand tight. Need to come in, hit it a little harder. I think it's a 12 or a 13. Got to get that tight. And then instead of screws over here, there is a bolt hole right there. You got to run an 8mm bolt in there. As you can see, it has a really big flat washer around it. You can tell from the witness mark. So you run that in there. And once you get those two in there, it's pretty much the same. The bolt patterns line up at the top here. And your bolt patterns for the wheel well should also line up. Now the wheel well likes to shift around. You're going to have to fight with it a bit. And also don't forget, you've got a bolt here that you got to open the door to attach. So to help you line things up, there is a divot or a groove, I don't know what you want to call it, right there. That's going to line up here. They kept that design across both vehicles. I can actually, there it is. From what I'm seeing, the door panel gap is going to be okay between here and the fender. Still working on seeing if the hood's going to look appropriate. I'll bring you back when I've made some progress. One note I want to throw in this process here is because your panel alignment and gap here is so important, you may have to loosen things up to get it all adjusted. I was having problems getting this fender to come forward, so I thought it was the header panel and I loosened it. Fender still wouldn't come forward. What it is this plastic skirt right here, and it was pushing against the bumper, and my bumper was tilted wrong. So I had to loosen the bumper and the header panel. But now that I have, I can pretty much get the fender lined up just where I want it. As you can see, I can get that lifted up, shifted forward, so I have good panel gap all the way through with the door. So just throwing that out there. Alright guys, this is the final result. Now you can see there's a bit too much gap from the hood. You do need a Ranger hood for this to look correctly to complete the transformation. But this is drivable, it's legal, and for my purposes at the moment, I'm pretty happy. I will get back up to the junkyard and replace the hood, but for now, this is what we're going to use and this is what we're going to do. Looks to me, I prefer the look of the Ranger versus the B3000. If you guys go in the comments, let me know what you think about how this looks to you. Guys, that is gonna do it as far as how to remove and install a fender. As you can see, it's, installation is the reverse of removal. Tiny bit of difference. There's a nut, there's a bolt. You have to do with the Ranger fenders versus the B Series fenders. They use screws. That's going to be it. If you learned something, let me know in the comments. If you didn't like something I did and you've got some constructive criticism, let me know too. I really want to hear from you guys to learn and to grow. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. This helps to get me on the path to monetize the channel so that I can bring you more content. So until next time, later.